How did this happen that he got your phone records and released them to the public to show the public who, in fact, you were talking to?
Well, he subpoenaed digits, basically. And then in there, once he had all this data, then he ran my phone number and pulled out my calls that I had. But he also, I think, more concerning than just me, he did it to the president's personal lawyer and a journalist. And also, I think this is what's most wrong about this. I mean, the whole thing is just sickening. But he did it to one of my current staff members and one of my former staff members, who he doesn't like. Him and his team, they don't like the fact that we exposed them for the Russia hoax that they were involved in.
That's right.
You know, that's what this is all about. So we're putting together a legal team. I think the Republican members of Congress, they have to be concerned, because if they ever spoke to any of these people, their records could be released. And I think journalists should be concerned, because if journalists ever spoke to Rudy Giuliani, at any time that the Democrats decide that they don't like what a journalist has done or what another member of Congress has done, they can just release these. So but we also have to look at the constitutional aspects of this, and do all the members of Congress have a right to privacy? And can just one member, because he doesn't like someone and he's a political opponent of someone, can that member just subpoena records and then release just to embarrass or to create a distraction or to build whatever fantasy land narrative that they continue to build? Because remember, these guys jump from one phony narrative to another.
So what are you suing CNN for specifically then? They knew that this didn't happen. They went with the story anyway?
CNN went with somebody who's indicted, likely to be found guilty. Right? And whatever they're doing, I believe that it's obstruction of justice. Mm-hmm. So we will be working with the appropriate authorities. Department of Justice will be sending them information. We'll be sitting down with them, because somebody concocted this story in order to try to get this Parnas guy, who I've never met, to get him.
Were you ever on the phone with him, though? Because there's a phone call.
So what I said this yesterday. I went through my records on Friday, okay, and very clearly, I got a call from a number that was Parnas's wife. I remember talking to someone, and I did what I always do, which is that if you don't know who they are, you put them to staff, and you let staff work with that person. Yeah. But we also checked. I will even say this: we've checked all of our records. We have no information from Parnas. We have no documents. We have nothing. We have no emails. So there's nothing that we have in our control from Parnas. But you know who's working with Parnas? If Parnas is such a bad guy, Adam Schiff is the guy working with Parnas. Adam Schiff and the Democrats are the ones that are talking to Parnas and Parnas's lawyers, not me.
This is Republican lawmaker Devin Nunes, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, appearing on a friendly Fox News show in a desperate effort to try and explain away why his phone number appeared numerous times on call logs with an indicted Giuliani associate, Lev Parnas. At the same time, Nunes was heading the investigation for Republicans into the Ukraine scandal. To say that this is a conflict of interest could not be more of an understatement. Nunes frames this as an issue wherein he is the victim, because as a Republican, that is what you do. He's basically saying that Adam Schiff purposefully exposed his call records, which is unequivocally false. The truth is that Schiff subpoenaed both AT&T and Verizon for the call records of Lev Parnas as part of the ongoing investigation into the now indicted business associate of Giuliani, and Devin Nunes' phone number came up because, surprise, numerous calls were made between their numbers. In other words, this wasn't so much Adam Schiff implicating Devin Nunes as it was Devin Nunes implicating Devin Nunes. Of course, when he's asked point blank whether he was ever on the phone with Parnas, Nunes waffles and makes a tenuous claim that it was Parnas's wife, not Lev, who called. In other words, Nunes went from barely knowing how to pronounce the guy's name to now having an 8-minute and 34-second conversation with his wife. I don't know about you, but I also tend to spend the longest continuous conversation I've had on the phone in months with the significant others of people who I do not know. He then claims that he has no documents related to the call. In other words, Nunes is claiming that he's completely absolved, that the call never happened because he didn't make any self-incriminating memos about that call. Well, that's convenient. I guess the only proof here would have been if Nunes had made documentation about what he and Parnas would have spoken about, and because he doesn't have that documentation, that no call between the two ever happened. Yeah, no, that totally checks out. And finally, the grand finale, after Nunes is finished blaming his staff and Parnas' wife and his lack of self-incriminating documentation, is Nunes saying that the real issue here is Adam Schiff. That's right, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, who you should be blaming for all of this, including the fact that the current ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee was caught having a nearly 9-minute phone call with the number belonging to a now indicted Giuliani associate who was involved in the very issue that Nunes' committee was investigating, is his Democratic counterpart. Because somehow, despite the fact that this entire scandal revolved around Trump ordering Giuliani and his associates to facilitate an investigation into Biden, and then one of those associates being in contact with the Republican in charge of the investigation into this very scandal, the real issue here is the other party. Got it. The fact is that Devin Nunes might be trying his best to intimidate all of his detractors into silence with a never-ending string of litigation, but the more information that comes out, the worse it looks for him. Especially considering that Lev Parnas' attorney is now saying that Parnas is willing to testify under oath that Nunes' aides called off a trip to Ukraine this year when they realized they'd have been required to notify Schiff of their travel, and that the purpose of the trip was to interview 2 Ukrainian prosecutors who claimed to have evidence that could help Trump's re-election campaign. And again, as if there was any doubt, if Nunes himself was indeed a central figure in an investigation that he was supposed to be heading for the GOP, that would really not be a good look. Of course, as we await that testimony, one solution for Nunes would just be to testify under oath himself. Although, like Bolton and Mulvaney and Perry and Giuliani and Pence and even Trump, all of whom have been implicated in the Ukraine scandal, the likelihood of anyone voluntarily testifying under penalty of perjury is slim to none. And the reason for that is, like everyone else in this administration, he's clearly got something to hide.